Перед Новым годом пророссийские средства массовой информации все.
Before the new year, the pro-Russian media began to report more and more frequently that volunteer center in Bachmut were stopping their work, evacuation was stopping, people were no longer being helped, and food kits were no longer being distributed. In fact, that is not true. We visited the Central Humanitarian Aid Center, and there are still people, the staff is still working, and all the necessary aid is still being delivered. The Russian media claim that all the volunteer centers have already stopped working and that the rescuers have left. It's nothing like that. We work as we used to. In principle, yes, last week we were given some days off in connection with the holiday. We had 2 holidays in a row.
The Russian media did not forget to write about the Bakhmut rescuers who allegedly left the city. Meanwhile, they had no intention of leaving the city, but the locals themselves cannot accept this way of life and blame the leader of the aggressor country. I lived 82 years. There was no such thing in that war. There was no such thing. The Germans did not do that. If I were a king, I would personally execute them. I would take their heads and flush them down the toilet until they were dead. In the city, there are many people who are left alone and have nowhere to find help. In order to keep their homes warm, residents collect firewood themselves.
Look at my hands. I steam them every day. And from what? I have to chop wood, to heat it. Doing it yourself? I do everything myself. I'm surprised that I get my strength from the word must is working. Tell us years ago a normal peaceful life. Could you guess what it will be? Never thought of such a thing, never. Not even to the most reflective person who can predict. It is just not real, impossible. What can you compare it to? It's hell. That's exactly what I mean to say. Hell.
Less than 8,000 people still live in Ukrainian Bakhmut. About 200 of them are underage children. Volunteers say it is very difficult to convince their parents to evacuate.
I went out with the police to persuade 3 families with children to leave their conditions. Living in basement, it's not good. Some agree, some don't, and say we will not go. And children are underage, yes, minors.
Local residents say the humanitarian situation in the city is acceptable, but constant Russian shelling makes them hate the so-called liberators much more.
So sick and bloody Putin. He has so tired Bakhmut, you can imagine. My dear, he lost the war. He's floundering like a fish in water.
In recent days, the Russians have concentrated their efforts on the storming of neighboring Soledar, redeploying manpower in that direction. According to the Ukrainian military, there have been fewer attempts to break through the defense of Bakhmut, but the number of attacks on the city has increased. Reported by Olena Hramova, UATV News.